season. They've got a 1-1-3 record, sitting on 4 points, and they're tied for last in the Western Conference. It just hasn't been their season. And we talked about this last time because we've already played Portland earlier this season when the Whitecaps beat them 4-1.
Just a few weeks ago, actually.
Just a few weeks ago. And we were wondering about how long Phil Neville has back then. I think we're still wondering.
Yeah, still wondering. 1-1-3, Portland. Tied for last in the Western Conference. Before the break, they drew 1-1 with LA Galaxy, which included Kamal Miller getting sent off in that game. It was, I guess, disappointing for Galaxy not to get a win despite being up a man. And Portland survived this game somehow.
Now, Portland also has that one player with that absolute wonder shot that got Takioka a little bit flat-footed, Eric Iziota. That was his debut game when he got that beautiful, beautiful goal. So I have to wait and see how he's clicked on. 18 years old. Be interesting to see if he's playing.
Yeah, and one of 2 goals the Whitecaps have conceded all season.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, being against San Jose before the break. Both goals were screamers, to say the least. But the Whitecaps got to, hopefully with this break, try to figure out how to break down the low block. So Portland doesn't really play a low block, but, try to get the goal scoring back up because Portland, I'm just taking a look now, has conceded 12 goals in 5 games.
Yeah,
they scored 7. Most in the Western Conference. 12 goals against.
I mean, their backline's been questionable for a while. I'm not too sure about Kamal Miller these days.
I don't think, just more on him later, but it just feels like he doesn't have it anymore.
No, I mean that catches up with everyone, but it's they need reinforcements, and Portland needs a little bit of everything. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I'm just, they have had trouble scoring at times this season. Though, I'm just taking a look. They did lose when they did find out how to put the ball in the net. They did lose 3-2 to the Houston Dynamo. Only win came on, I believe, opening weekend. A 3-2 win over the Columbus Crew.
There you go. As for the Whitecaps are coming off a couple of losses in multiple competitions. One in MLS against the Earthquakes. One against Seattle in Champions Cup. I think you're absolutely right. This break came at a good time to give them a bit of a reset. Losing a couple of the games isn't necessarily a bad thing as well. I mean, I think the Whitecaps, they kind of felt like they were just flowing through the season. It was going to be kind of like what last year was. And you kind of need to hit those points of adversity to reset, remember kind of what it is you're trying to do, and that you have to work in all of these games. Knowing that you have these reinforcements coming in, hopefully sooner rather than later, is going to be just an added boost for morale as well. So I feel pretty good about this game. I think it's a game in the schedule that's at the right time to bounce back. It's at a team, it's against that you can get a good win against, and it's back at BC Place. And I think they just announced they've got over 22,000 tickets already sold for this match.
Yeah. Whitecaps hopefully are well rested and can figure out how to, to score some goals. And it looks like we won't see Kamal Miller at BC Place on Saturday since he is going to be suspended for his red card last game. Hello to everyone watching live. There were some technical difficulties at the start, but it's all figured out now. So if it's on your feed now, apologies. So good to see certain players training. We won't see them this weekend, obviously. It's going to be interesting how they handle another game without Kubas because he was sorely missed in the last game against the San Jose Earthquakes.
The one thing with that game against the Earthquakes is we were playing with a midfield double pivot that hadn't played together before because Ngando was in there beside Larraz. You got to think that it's going to be Larraz beside Berhalter. And Berhalter is going to have that level of stability that's going to definitely make a difference.
Yeah, Berhalter also back from international break, 2 games for the U.S. Yeah, Jeevan Badwell can play there as well, but I would assume it would be Laraz and Berhalter, given that Laraz is in some ways a Kubis light. So Whitecaps, Portland Timbers this Saturday at BC Place, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Good for the Whitecaps to get back into high gear and try to climb the standings against a team that is very leaky at the back. So the win's up there for the taking.
Yeah. Before we move on to World Cup, I do want to talk about the CPL. The CPL is going to start up this weekend. Obviously, the first game, I believe, is Vancouver FC, and they're going to be welcoming back Vanni Sartini and his new Halifax. Oh my God, Halifax.
Halifax Wanderers, yep.
Thank you.
Vanni's back in the Lower Mainland, not Vancouver proper, but
yeah. Couple of changes coming into CPL this year. One was just announced. They've actually done a bit of a U-turn on their playoff format. They're now going back to the 6 teams making the playoffs instead of 8, where the 5th and 6th finishers from the regular season will play a single match, and then it'll kind of go on from there. Not too sure why the U-turn, but that was something just announced in the last few hours. The other thing I want to talk about is the CPL is going to be the league in the world that's going to be testing Arsene Wenger's new offside
rule, as we mentioned a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So
I still don't like it. This is still a league that also doesn't have VAR, so it's going to be difficult.
It's going to be very hard
to mention it. Sorensen was actually asked about it at his press conference, and he said it's the same thing that I've been saying. It's still a line. The one thing is it's going to allow attackers to kind of run off the shoulder a little bit more, but it's going to make it more difficult for defenders. And that's the idea. It's supposed to. The danger is defenders sit back more.
Yeah, teams are going to play low blocks more.
Lower back lines, crazy low blocks, and you end up with everyone playing like Arsenal, which is going to be the most boring football ever.
Yeah. This current Arsenal, not Wenger's Arsenal.
Yes, yeah, the Arteta's Arsenal. So I'm still not a fan of it. But at least they're doing a trial. Hopefully they can get something in it. I would have picked a different league than the CPL. I would have picked a league that actually has
VAR.
Yeah, the mechanisms in place to actually give it a good test. But it doesn't look like that's happening. So here we go.
Yep, first CPL game will be Forge against defending champions Ottawa.
Oh, that's the first one. Gotcha.
Yeah, Vancouver FC Wanderers later in the day, and then on the Sunday, Easter Sunday, Pacific and Cavalry from Starlight Stadium in Langford. All right, so Canada's World Cup opponent for the first game has been revealed. It is Bosnia and Herzegovina, as they beat Italy on penalties, 1-1 after 1-1 draw, and Italy have missed out on the World Cup for the 3rd time in a row, and there is a generation of Italian kids who have never seen Italy play in a World Cup, which is absolutely wild.
Italy wins the World Cup, doesn't make the next 3.
Yeah, Italy wins the World Cup, finishes last in the 2010 World Cup, out of the group stage in the 2014 World Cup, don't make the next 3.
A couple of things out of this one. Alessandro Bastoni, red card in the 41st minute.
Barely poorly timed tackle.
Yeah, Italy drops down. Hey, you know what? Bastoni, he's attached with Barcelona. He just wanted to be rested for the move, right?
Yeah, Bastoni's one of the best defenders in the world, but he does make bozo mistakes like that.
Yeah. The problem is Italy also has – you got to question the academy and how they bring players up. Can you name an up-and-coming young Italian player these days?
Not really.
Honestly, the last one I could name was Bastoni, and he's a defender, and he's also, 27 now?
Yeah.
What's this next generation? I can't name it when it comes to Italy. I will say credits to Don Maduro. Kept Italy in this match, because when they were down 10 men, Bosnia threw everything
going and going.
But he held them and gave them the fighting chance. When it came to penalties, Italy couldn't do a thing.
The first penalty,
one penalty.
First one was skied over the bar.
Yeah.
Second one was saved. I mean, the second one was scored, but the third one was saved. So,
Yeah.
um,
And on top of that, the second penalty, if I remember right, was
no, wait,
taken
the
by
third one
Brian
was off the bar.
Cristante, who
Yeah,
is dual national with Canada. Chose
yeah,
to play for Italy. You got to think that if he had actually chosen Canada, he would have been in the last two World Cups.
yeah, and the guy who scored the winning penalty for Bosnia, I think dual national with the U.S.
Oh, there you go.
So that guy's only 21 years old. But congrats to Bosnia. They make the World Cup for the first time since 2014, which is the last time Italy was in the World Cup. And the last World Cup game Italy played was the infamous game where Suarez bit Chiellini.
I remember that.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then
that
Suarez
clearly.
went down as if he got like elbowed in the mouth or something like that, trying to sell that.
Yeah.
Guy
And
needs a muzzle.
uh, yeah, Edin Dzeko still up top for Bosnia, 39 years old, and he's going to the World Cup again.
Good on him. Good on him.
Good on him.
Uh,
Um,
Other big shock, maybe not as big of a shock, but it will be to maybe a few. Czech Republic defeat Denmark in penalties.
yeah, I can't remember the last time the Czechs made the World Cup.
It's been a long time.
Let me
I
Google it
honestly,
here.
I got to believe that the last time they made it, the country was still called Czechoslovakia.
Or when 2006.
Oh, okay. So no, they have done it since the
Yeah,
break.
I
Okay.
know Petr Cech did play at the World Cup.
Yeah. Um, I'm not as surprised as some others. I take a look at Denmark and I see an aging squad when you still got people like Christian Eriksen playing.
Yeah,
Um, Czech have a quietly strong team,
yeah,
unassuming, good team, and you know what? A decent league. Like there's some good some good teams in the Czech Republic that act as pipelines for youth. And they're all not just named Sparta Prague. There are other teams as well. So nice to see. Also nice to see for my family background. So yeah,
yeah.
looking forward to
Shit.
watching a few Czech games.
Yeah, Czech did decently at the last Euro, especially with Patrick Schick,
Yeah.
Thomas Suchek. Graham Potter has led Sweden to the World Cup as they beat Poland, and this is speculative to be the last time or the end of Robert Lewandowski's um, international career, but he said we'll see. So
He might
no,
continue for Euros. This was his last chance for World Cup.
yeah,
You gotta think
Anthony,
that.
Anthony Alanga gets a goal. I think he has scored more goals for Sweden than he has for Newcastle.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, 3-2
Yeah.
win. Victor Gyökeres with the 88th minute winner, and he sends Sweden to the World Cup. And also, it's like the Democratic Republic of Congo is in the World Cup after a 52-year hiatus.
They actually just declared a national holiday over the qualification as well. So they're partying in the streets right now.
Yeah, but it's 1-0 win over Jamaica, who
Yeah.
failed to qualify for the World Cup. Back to Italy for a little bit here. This is a disaster for Italian football. I was made aware of this yesterday. The Italian legend, the man with the ponytail, Roberto Baggio, back in, I believe, 2011 or 2010, when he was working with the Italian Federation as a technical sector, put out a 900-page report on how to improve Italian football because he foresaw pretty much what is happening now. He pretty much said there needs to be better investment in the academy, have the academies contact the federation, have better coaching, basically. Italian clubs should sign players that are Italian, and there was also a big focus on developing skill over physical play. It doesn't mean like get rid of physical play, but needs more skill and love for the ball, basically. And It was basically he was presented it, but it was basically ignored, and he resigned from the Italian
There's a
Federation.
few things that hurt Italy. One of them, ironically, was the Bosman. All of a sudden, you could bring in more players from outside of Italy, because before that, you were only allowed 3 players from outside Italy to play on your club. That changed things. So not only did it become a question of the academy, but the academy players that did graduate, you're wondering whether they're ever going to play because you're just signing players from elsewhere. Now, that's not an Italian problem. That happened all over Europe. You can argue that was just the nature of the game. That was the pathway, and you had to learn how to adapt. Italy maybe did not adapt as good as others. The other thing is, I go back to when Germany bowed out. I want to say in the group stage in like, what was it, 2008 or something like that. And there was like this crisis of faith throughout Germany, and they went and they completely reformed not only their academy system, but they reformed how they bring up coaches from youth soccer up to professional soccer, and also how they train referees. And that's what led into this resurgence of German football in the 2010s, when you had, the greats of that. Whitecaps are, getting a little bit of that with Thomas Muller now. I see that's the problem with Italy right now, but Italy hasn't done enough to try and correct it. So you've ended up with great. You want to improve your academies, but that's only a part of it. You need to understand how to improve your coaching. When I look at coaching, I look at something like Cesc Fabregas and what he's doing with Como. He's doing something completely different than what every other team is doing. Every other team wants to play, the typical Italian 3-5-2, get a goal, sit back, and do absolutely nothing. Right?
Yeah, the Italians. As Edgar from Nags says, corruption, decaying infrastructure. Look at their stadiums. Baggio did mention that in his report, I believe.
And it's very true too. I mean, look what's going on with the San Siro right now.
Yeah, that old ground.
Right? Like they're trying to get it redone, but they've been trying to get it redone for what, a decade? You just got to grease the right palms. But this is the thing is you can't just look at the academy. That's a part of it, but it's not everything. You need to look at coaching. You need to bring in new ideas. There's so much pride in playing the Italian way, and that's great.
3 at the back,
but you have to learn to adapt to a modern game, and they haven't done that.
They haven't done
not
that.
Only that, I don't believe there's a willingness to.
No, many players, mostly coaches, they refuse to adapt. Like Gattuso tried the back 4, but he's like, nah, back 3. And I know Italians have a tendency for being stubborn, but they refuse to adapt. I think Baggio pointed this out in his report that he wanted some more influence from the outside.
Cesc Fabregas was even talking about, they were asking him about the fact that he is playing differently and they are doing things. And he says, it's working for us based on the size of the club we have, but it's also made me not a popular guy in Italy. Because even though we're doing good, I'm not doing things the Italian way. And for many people, Italian, by the way. That's more important. That's more important than winning, which, I don't know. To me, that's having confused priorities, but that's just me.
Yeah. And also, Italy's good at defending midfielders and defenders.
Yeah, because they pack the midfield with so many bodies.
But strikers and wingers, they're not world class. They don't have those game-changing attackers.
Yeah.
They might have a few that could potentially be in the academy, but they're not given chances.
Again, when you think of attackers playing in Italy, you're thinking of players that are not Italian.
Yeah, like Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah.
I don't think Italy's had a world-class striker since Baggio.
Yeah. This is not it's not a quick solve, but it's a problem that should have been addressed or started to be addressed a decade ago.
Should have listened to Baggio.
Yeah.
And
You could see it in that last World Cup win and how old that squad was, because they kept a lot of that squad going into the next World Cup.
and the World Cup after that.
And I mean, they were done and dusted at that point. Like they're too old. They weren't bringing up anyone new to fill those shoes and make it a more kind of diverse project in terms of age.
Yeah, and also the Serie A too. Like, remember how most of the Italian clubs crashed out in the Champions League?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to that's another indictment on Italian football. So Italian football is a mess, and until they adapt to new ideas, bring in some foreign influence or learn from some other countries,
Just learn
not
from
going
it,
anywhere.
right? I mean, Italy did a very good job of going to other places and teaching about Italian football. That's great, but it's
How
got to go
about you
both ways.
How about you learn from the outside too?
Yeah, right. You don't have, and just because you're learning from the outside doesn't mean you have to adapt everything, but you can
No,
integrate it into what you do, right? You got to be
I
open.
know. Yeah, Baggio even said it years ago. They're great. There's physicality, but we need skill.
Yeah,
Italy doesn't have that now.
not really. Speaking of international breaks, Canada had a couple of
Yep.
matches, friendlies. First one against Iceland, a 2-2 draw, but a first half that arguably is probably one of the worst first halves under Jesse Marsh.
Yeah, just poor. No break came down the low blocks. Bad defending. Mistake by Kamal Miller on the first goal. Second one, Miller, Waterman, and Sigur get caught out.
Yeah,
St. Clair's beaten. Iceland were up 2-0.
deservedly.
Deservingly, yeah. Iceland pretty much sat back until then.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Now,
they did. Sat back the whole game.
it was a tale of two halves, though, because that second half, Canada came alive. You got to think Marsh had some pretty choice words, and I mean that's one to the credit. That's the kind of coach that Marsh is. He's not a guy that's going to scream at you and throw water bottles, but he's going to tell you exactly what is on his mind, right? And he's going to do it in a way that's going to inspire
definitely.
you to fight back, not get down on yourselves. And that's the team we saw in the second half. Yes, both goals were penalties,
Much better.
but they created those opportunities. By creating those opportunities, that's what got them back in. Jonathan David with go ahead.
You need, and he did with the first penalty, I think.
Yeah, nice to see. So again, I do have questions about defending. I don't know if Waterman's the guy, but then again, I also don't know if Kamal Miller's the guy. I would like to see more of Ralph Priso, but we'll get to more of that with our next match, and we might as well talk about it. Oh, and then let's talk about also Tejon Buchanan.
Yeah, great game until he decides to go Gordie Howe mode, and with the elbow on the Iceland player, intentional or not, that's clear that you can't do that. Sent off.
I'm sorry, but he looked back over his shoulder before he threw it. That's intentional. I will die on that hill. That was intentional. That is a straight red any day of the week.
Yeah.
And whether he meant just to put his arm back to hold the player back, he got it wrong. And the fact is that was 3 red cards in a row in 3 games for Canada.
Yes.
And it was 5 red cards in a calendar year, I believe, if going back to last March. Which, when you think of how often a national team meets, that's pretty damning.
Yeah, and especially that these are friendlies, quote unquote.
Yeah. Marsh did address it in post-conference, saying that, Canada's not a dirty team. It's not immaturity. It's a lack of experience still, and still trying to get players to trust the skill rather than rely on emotion. I get that. It makes sense. I think it's also a very tactful answer. Again, something I expect from Jesse Marsh, but it is something that needs to be eradicated from Canada's game. These stupid red cards are going to hurt you every time.
I think it's just a discipline issue. Like,
yeah, I can put it there.
Hey, yeah.
Second
also,
match,
Canada did well against Tunisia in the second half. But especially Buchanan until he got sent off. Yeah, against Tunisia last night, much
Yeah.
better with the ball, much better when it terms of pressing. Good play down the wings. Liam Miller, especially on that
Yeah.
right side, filling in for Buchanan, especially that game-saving block where
Yes.
Canada were caught out. But final ball, low blocks again. Canada can't break them down.
That seems to be the story of a lot of teams. And again, I go back to the implementation of this new offside rule that I just expect now we're going to see even more and more of this, of teams just sitting back. Um, it was, yeah, it was a good game except for that final third. And Canada was pummeled. They had a number of decent chances, but a lot of them, and way too many of them, were from outside the 18-yard box. Ali Ahmed, when he came on in the second half, had a good chance of his own. You're not really testing the goalkeeper because it's so far out. You're giving him way too much time to set up for the goal, and you're making it easy on him. There's not a lot of play inside the box. Now, there were a couple of penalty sniffs that could have happened. I believe one was Liam Miller going down in the box. I'm sorry, you got a yellow card for simulation. That was a dive.
Yeah.
That was a dive. So that was well deserved. There was another one. I'm trying to remember the player, but there was another one that I felt could have been a penalty, but I can't. It's escaping me right now.
Can't remember either. Daniel O'Shea had a couple chances in the first half, but he skied both of them over the bar.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Tunisian goalkeeper didn't make any hard saves. And the damning stat from last night, Tunisia had one big chance, which was the chance Liam Miller saved. Canada had none.
It was the best chance of the game. Yeah, it was the best chance of the game. And that's, I mean, really, that's all it takes. If one team has all the possession, but they're just cycling it outside of the box, right? All you need is one good counterattack. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can bring this up here. This is the stat of the last two games, not including Jonathan David's penalties against Iceland.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is Marcelo Flores had a good camp. It was nice to see him. It was nice to see what he's able to do. This guy's a creative guy, and I think he's going to be a big player for Canada.
Yeah, Canada just Marcelo Flores was good. Very, creative. Has the tenacity, and there's a player there that Canada could use in the future. Alex, our good friend AGR, puts 1.625 non-penalty XG on 27 shots this March window. 0.06 XG per shot. Couldn't even get 007.
Wow.
11 out of 45 crosses, 24%. Not good enough.
No, that's not good enough at all. I mean, that tells me that they should know what they need to work on. Is there enough time? You've got a couple of more matches. We'll have to wait and see.
I know Marsh won't do this, but I mean, he wants to stick with two strike formation. I just always wondered, what would Canada be like if it was just Jonathan David up top
and played someone in behind like a Marcelo Flores?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Since he can play.
Put Marcelo Flores in like a number 10, Ali out wide. On the other side, Tejan Buchanan. I'd watch that.
I mean, this window would have been a good chance to experiment. But there's also a pre-World Cup tune-up games. But
have we ever seen Jesse Marsh really stray away from the 4-4-2?
He loves the 4-4-2 or the 4.
He does.
Can be a 4-2-4 at times.
And you take a look at the teams that he's managed. There were teams that required structure and stability because otherwise they'd get played out of the park. So I get where he's coming from. I get his school, but I believe that he has an opportunity to do something different against certain kinds of opposition. Not everyone, I get it. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen an experiment, and I would have liked to have seen it start, I don't know, in November.
Or would have been interesting to see how it would have done against, Iceland or Tunisia or any team that plays a low block like Australia back in the fall. And also, should also mention the defense much better against Tunisia. A tire fire in the first half against Iceland. Yeah, as we mentioned, I don't think a little more, at least for the national mode. Portland hasn't
Yeah.
been great either.
What does this mean for Canada then? So in the
Um,
last 5 matches, they've only won one game. They haven't lost. They've drawn all the others, but they've now dropped one spot in the FIFA national rankings to 30th. And that's mainly
yep.
because these draws
France is
came
now on
against a
top.
couple of teams that were ranked a little bit lower than them. One, I guess, piece of good news that's come out of all this is Canada Soccer has reached a new CBA with players ahead of the World Cup. Now, this CBA is for players, men and women, which is really good. Basically, it takes the prize or the kind of the fee per game that players get, and it makes them equal across the men's World Cup, the women's World Cup. Those are the same. It pairs off
Yep.
the Olympics and makes that the same. The Copa America. It makes the men's Gold Cup the same as the women's CONCACAF Women's Championship. It takes the men's Nations League and I think makes it roughly the same as the She Believes Cup, at least in later rounds. And then friendlies are the same. So it's basically what it is. It's creating an easier structure for players to understand, but also making prize allocation equal regardless if you're playing in the men or women's game.
All right. That's
This
cool.
goes through to the end of 2027 as well. So they've got just over a year and a half to live with this. And
Yeah,
it
so
gives
Nations
them
League and
it gives them a
CBA stuff
cushion
any year.
for
Yeah.
bargaining for the next CBA, because you got to remember they played a long time with nothing.
Yeah.
So they've now got 20 months to figure out something long term past this, which is good. Again, I go back to Kevin Blue and how much work he has done in all aspects of Canada soccer to completely transform this organization. And credit not just to him, but the team and everyone that works within it. They've done a lot of work to rehabilitate Canada soccer. It's starting to show.
Yeah, at least Canada soccer's finances and
that too, right?
It looks like there's some transparency and things are starting to look up. For the men, though, I guess they did well for the most part without Davies, Bombito, Johnston, and Eustachio. One open play goal in 7 games, though. Bosnia and Switzerland, they play low blocks. Qatar can't be underestimated at the World Cup also. So got to figure out how to put the ball in the net. I will say, though, Ralph Priso did make a good case for his World Cup hopes before he got injured.
Yeah.
Which really sucked because he was playing very well. Sucks for Canada, sucks for the Whitecaps.
If he continues and he's able to get back to where he was, you got to wonder where that puts a Ralph Priso, say, in relation to someone like a Derek Cornelius, who isn't playing for his club right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's basically persona non grata at Rangers.
Yeah, he's on loan there, but
he's not playing. Like since they did their managerial change, he's not doing anything. In fact, wasn't he training with the U21s for a while?
Yeah, if they don't want him, cancel the loan.
Well, yeah.
And Deserby's out of Marseille, so send him back.
Yeah. Other thing to talk about, we were just talking about Italy. Italy has announced now a total reset of their football structure. Urgent meeting has been called between all player associations and all coaching associations. Major overhaul is going to be starting with the removal of key figures within the federation, including the president of Italian football. Apparently, this is actually being run by the Italian government sport minister. So, yeah, this is being considered a national emergency.
Yeah, I mean, this Italian president should have resigned years ago. Somehow he still kept his job. Yeah, but for Canada, I mean, lots to work on before World Cup, especially that attack. And I really was impressed by Marcelo Flores and the way he moved the ball. And hopefully he is on the World Cup squad in June. So moving on to Europe, since it is international break, no football. Thankfully, honestly, my life has been, for both of us, actually, our lives have been more productive more happier away from our European clubs.
Well, that's because I had to go on vacation.
You had to go on vacation, which was nice. Me, even without a vacation, life without watching Chelsea was fine, was good. So I coped by playing career mode and pretended that Chelsea team was the real Chelsea team. But some stuff to talk about. Enzo Fernandez has further hinted at a move to Real Madrid by when he was asked about certain cities. He said, "I'd like to live in Madrid," you know, um,
Just
and
throwing that out there,
it's nice there. Well, if, as I said last week, if he wants to leave, fine, but Chelsea won't sell it for more than 100 million, less than 100 million. He said, "I like to live in Madrid. It's a beautiful city. It reminds me of Buenos Aires." When asked about clubs there, he didn't comment.
Yeah.
So it'll be a tragedy if they lose Enzo Fernandez, since he'll be tough to replace. But I can't blame him for wanting to get out of Chelsea. But Mark Cucurella, who is also on international duty with Spain, he spoke about the current state of Chelsea, and he pretty much summed up what a lot of people have said about Chelsea. And he revealed also that when Maresca was fired slash left, it was a big impact on the club and it affected a lot of the players. If you ask me, he would have not made the decision. They should have waited until the end of the season, but of course, like Baldy and his crew had other ideas. And it's I understand it's part of the club's policy to sign young players to look to the future, but they, of course, players want to win. Moments like the Champions League against PSG makes you feel discouraged. Good core players, foundations are there, but to fight for the Premier League and Champions League, you need more. Signing young players only might complicate achieving those goals.
Yeah.
Fair play to Marc Cucurella. Now, of course, Fabrizio Romano says this was not an attack on anyone at the club. It was more of a message to the fans. I don't know. I think he was trying to throw something out there towards the club. And I hope that stroked and Bally and the sporting director's egos a bit to make them consider changing their ways, since I don't think they'll sell the club.
So, no, they're not going to be selling this club anytime
good
soon.
on Cucurella for calling them out. He's he's here to win. He wants to be surrounded by players who can help him win. Experienced players. I was asked about a potential move to La Liga, and he said he's happy at Chelsea. His family's happy in London. Maybe in a few years. Maybe. Right now, his priority is Chelsea. Good on him. Cucurella, of course. He's 28, I believe. 27, 28. One of the experienced players. And one of the players that, had Premier League experience. Took some time for him to get going, but is now a world-class left back. He is part of the core. And speaking of Chelsea and ownership, it's reported this morning a record £62 million loss last season. A Premier League record.
Before that was the 2011 $197.5 million loss by Man City. And we all know what's happened with Man City since.
Yeah. Well done, Igbali. He said, Chelsea weren't well run, weren't terribly run, or whatever he said pre-2022 under Abramovich. Well, biggest pre-tax loss in Premier League history. Yeah, £65 million more than Man City in 2011.
The one thing I don't get is the profit and sustainability rules allow for a £105 million loss over 3 years. This is more than double that in 1 year. How is Chelsea saying that they're still compliant?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Like, maybe this is the guy I need to do my taxes.
Chelsea women posted an overall loss of £17.1 million and generated revenues totaling £21.3 million. Well, Chelsea did also have a 490.9 million pound revenue due to the top four finish, Conference League win, and Club World
Right.
Cup win. But there's going to be even more losses if they don't make Champions League next season, which is very likely. And I guess not having a permanent shirt sponsor doesn't help. So well done, Bedad. Well done, everyone there. Well done, Blueco. Not terribly well run. If Chelsea weren't not terribly well run and under Abramovich, what's this? Like, this is substantial. Yeah, the soul has been sucked out of Chelsea for a while. And Port Vale is on the weekend in the FA Cup, I believe, at Port Vale. I swear, if they do what I think they might actually happen, given this team, everyone should get fired. Everybody. Maybe keep Dave Fallows as an interim sporting director. But that's about it. No, it's at Stamford Bridge, sorry. I swear, if they do the unthinkable. Well, it's not super unthinkable, but just win. It's the last chance at a trophy. So at Spurs, Tudor is out. Roberto De Zerbi is in.
So, a lot of thoughts about this. First, De Zerbi was a guy that they actually wanted before they even hired Igor Tudor, right? So this has been going on for a long time. You can go back a couple of months. De Zerbi didn't want to be the interim guy. He always said he was interested in the job, but at the end of the season. Well, this time, Spurs
5-year contract.
Backed a truck up to him full of, a bearer bonds or gold bullion. I'm not too sure, but it was enough to make him take over the club as of now. Contracts for 5 years. There is no clause for relegation in it. So manager can't leave, but also manager's salary stays the same. Things like that. So he's the manager. Okay, that's done and dusted.
Permanent man.
Is he the right guy? Now,
this guy doesn't last long at clubs.
There's a few different ways to look at this. There's one to look at what he does on the pitch, what he does within the club, and what he does within the overall kind of landscape of football and the fandom and all that. Let's look at on the pitch. On the pitch, is he a player's manager? I'm willing to argue no. We all know what happened and the what went viral between him and Ishmael Kone. So what happens? Ishmael Kone goes out on loan to Sassuolo, and all of a sudden we start to see the player that he can be.
Hey, and he's doing pretty well.
Yeah. So De Zerbi is a guy that takes a look at the players and doesn't care. He has a system, he has a way of playing, and if the players can't fit into it, you're gone. He doesn't take a look at the players that are already there and say, okay, let's figure out how we make these players work to the best, of their ability and with each other. It's his way or no way.
Yeah, and he's very brash about it.
That bleeds into how he deals with the club.
Yep.
He's crashed out of every club he's been in because he's arguing with the board. Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't get along with boards. Happened to Brighton. It happened at Marseille, right? Like, it's just the way what it is. Now, that can be good or bad. Having a guy that sticks to their convictions is not a bad thing, but you need a guy that is also willing to adapt.
Be collaborative. It's his way or the highway.
Yeah, and the problem is you don't get immediate returns from that. It takes a while to buy into De Zerbi's system because he also needs the right players to happen. So are Spurs going to get the immediate bounce they need with only 7 games left? I don't know. I don't think so.
And you give this guy a 5-year contract.
I am really, really worried, especially going back to the whole Ishmael Kone issue, of how this guy treats youth and how he builds players up. And you take a look at Spurs with Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Jed Spence, the list goes on with the number of young players that they have that are either playing right now or waiting in the wings and will be guys heading into next year and the year after. This is a guy that could destroy their careers. I hate to say it, right?
This is a guy that could lose the room easily.
Yeah. And none of that matters when you think of what happens now in the greater landscape of things. And we have to go back and we have to mention Marseille and Mason Greenwood.
Where he called,
Yeah.
where he called him a good guy.
Yeah, called him a good guy. We all know we're not going to
discussing
rehash,
things we did.
news from years ago about the Mason Greenwood story and what happened with him.
Yeah.
But when you attach yourself to such an individual, that says more about the character of the person
Yeah.
beyond who the coach is. Now, fan groups, supporters groups, women at the lane in particular, I think has been leading the charge on this, have penned an official letter saying that this was not the hire they wanted. Citing the various rule issues, and a lot of them that I just mentioned. And a lot of them, they're not calling for an outright boycott, but a lot of these groups are saying that they will not be showing up for the duration of his time. Are they going to stick those convictions? I don't know. 5 years, if you look at the entire length of contract, obviously that's probably not going to last, but that is a long time. The one thing that does surprise me when it comes to the supporters groups is that it took them so long to say something. The fact that De Zerbi's been attached to this club for
months,
so long, and they've only said anything now. Now, I mean, before it was rumor and innuendo and whatnot. But the thing is it was rumor and innuendo years ago when Gattuso was attached to this club. And they had statements out within hours about that. This took 2 months. And it strikes me as a little bit strange. Like, I'm happy that the supporters are voicing their concerns. They should. That is absolutely their right. I'm just surprised it took so long.
Yeah. Well, better late than ever.
Yeah, better late than never. But the problem is that might not be the case, because when they finally voiced the concerns, the ink was already getting dry in the contract. So, I don't know. Spurs have their manager.
Can you keep him up?
I don't know. I don't know. Are we going to wait to see? This could be just this all over again. Third manager of this playing season. 4 if you go back to preseason and the release of Postecoglou. I still think this club is going down. I hate to say
Me too.
I still think this club's going down.
Man,
other than that, Spurs have announced their preseason tour will start in Auckland, New Zealand for 2026 off season. Playing some A-League.
Yeah. A-League versus a potential championship club.
Yeah. I mean, Spurs love going to
Asia and that part of the world.
Obviously, we're going to Oceania continents, but a lot of those teams and their attachment to Asian football is very well known, especially Australia. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. This is just the first announcement. Obviously, there will be more to follow.
Yeah, and I'm just reading here. De Zerbi, according to La Gazzetta, will not just be head coach. He will be given a Sir Alex Ferguson type role, where he will be central figure in football decisions, shaping squad building, direction, and long-term planning. So I guess that's what convinced him.
I saw that as well. I also think that's a bit of a hit against Danny Levy when he was at the club, because that would have been him running that stuff. And that goes back to Pochettino when he used to say, I'm not a manager, I'm just a coach. So De Zerbi is going to be a manager and a coach.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If they can keep them up, great. If not,
but it does make me wonder what is that environment going to be like? Not only for the players, but for the fans in the stadium. That's going to be. It's not going to be a good environment, and I don't. Unless this guy comes up with the mother of all speeches for "I'm sorry and I will do better," I don't see it changing.
Yeah, unless you can, light a fire under them. I don't know.
I mean, that's the other thing about this is you string a number of wins together and people have short-term memories. So there is that.
Yeah, but I mean, if Spurs keep being Spurs, this guy's probably going to berate players in public or something.
I know, and I'm worried about that. I'm worried about these young kids. at Spurs, and I'm worried about what their future is going to be under a manager like De Zerbi. Anyway, moving on. Senegal was playing a friendly. I believe, no, they were playing. I believe it was friendly against Peru, but they were playing it in Paris, and they said they were going to parade the AFCON trophy before the match. They did,
and they won against Peru 2-0.
Yeah,
they beat Pereira's Peru.
Now, tied into all this is all like the alleged corruption in the CAF that Senegal was saying is going on. A lot of that is starting to come to light, to the point where even the president of the CAF has announced that he's going to be resigning at the end of the year. He's saying that it's just retirement. Yeah, connect the dots.
Yeah, right.
It's very easy dots to connect, but you got to wonder that the CAS and their investigation into what happened at AFCON might get wrapped up into the greater level of alleged corruption throughout the CAF. Which honestly is probably a good idea. That confederation needs, I don't know, whatever the sporting version of an enema is.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a lot of changes in that, because you've got a lot of countries within the CAF that are not fans of their confederation, and I think rightfully so.
Yeah, and Edward Mendy,
this is just the tipping point.
The Senegal goalkeeper, Edward Mendy, former Chelsea goalkeeper,
yeah,
he pretty much spoke about poor management in African football. He said these decisions damage African football's image and called the situation a shame for Africa.
It is. It does. Yeah, the African Confederation should be one of the strongest confederations out there, right?
Right.
But I hate to say it, but they're the joke.
Yeah, they are a joke.
They are the joke, and it's been this way for a while. And it's not the individual. Well, I mean, obviously, individual nations. You've got them. You got really good. You've got, across the spectrum. You're dealing with what 50, 60 odd countries throughout Africa. I'm not even too sure how many, but there's a lot. But
yeah.
The confederation that runs everything. It's the confederation that's a joke.
Yeah, and that's why AFCON is such a gong show.
Yeah, every time.
I mean, the football is entertaining, but all the off-pitch stuff,
it's even more so.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertaining in a not so good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finishing off with England. England was playing a friendly against Japan
at Wembley,
and it is now the first time that England has ever lost to an Asian nation. They lost 1-0. It was a deserved loss. One of the big talking points, I mean, you can talk about all the youth players, or not youth, but younger players coming into England, but it was the fact that Harry Kane was not playing in this game. He had a bit of a minor injury, nothing big, but they decided to rest him. Did we get a look at what England could potentially be without Harry Kane?
Yeah.
And how scared should you be if you're England?
Pretty scary. Like, it goes how much they rely on him.
Yeah.
But, that can't be an excuse, because Japan was missing Wataru Endo, Takumi Minamino, among other players.
Yeah.
And they beat England. And, England's good players like Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, invisible.
Yeah.
By the way,
they may have kissed their World Cup chances goodbye, because if that was the audition, they didn't show up.
Yeah, and by the way, Matoma stole the ball from Cole Palmer, and then Japan goes back the other way, and Matoma finishes it for the only goal of the game. See, again, that's why I love Matoma. No BS, just run, and shoot.
It's a bit old school, right? It's just athleticism.
Yeah, and he's a smart player too. Like, this guy wrote a thesis on dribbling when he was in university.
That's amazing. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so if I'm like England, when I did watch a bit of the game back, like, it's boring. I know Tuchel's ball is kind of boring. Anyway, no creativity. Morgan Rogers was messing up his free kicks. This guy's either hot or cold. I like the player, but he needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, England also had a few other issues happening during this break. The whole idea of calling up Ben White after everything that happened in the last World Cup. The booing of fans against Ben White and, things like that. But if the product isn't good, you're not going to improve or the mindset of fans, no matter what you do.
Yeah, and I get there was no Kane, but you can't just rely on one guy.
You can't. You need to
And
start
no
bringing
Bellingham. Bellingham was on the bench.
Yeah, but you need to start integrating other players. This is the time to do it in friendlies. You need to figure out alternatives paths. You can't just rely on one or two players for the entirety of an upcoming tournament, no matter what that tournament is. And you also need to have an idea of what your next 5, 10 years are going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, sure, like there are young players, in the England setup, like Kobe Mainu.
Absolutely,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
he
I
didn't
mean,
do that
England
well.
is a breeding ground for quality footballers, but are they being added in the right way? Especially when you end up with stupid stories of like, oh, Jed Spence didn't sing the anthem; he should be banned for life.
Yeah, that's a nothing story.
It's
I
so
mean,
stupid.
I'd recommend you do sing the anthem of your country you're playing in. It's a privilege. You better take it. But
You don't know how he's integrating that. Like, he might just be, maybe he's just not a guy who sings and he internalizes it. For all I know, I do that.
yeah, I I'm if I were an England fan, I mean, I'm not an England fan. I'm not British, but I follow England very closely. So
Yeah, but
I'm
especially
worried about England. Yeah, I get it. No Reece James, no Declan Rice, no Saka, no Kane, but no
no
excuse.
excuses.
Look, no Take, no Minamino, no Endo, no Tomiyasu for Japan, and they beat you.
Yeah,
Um, oh yeah, just credit to that not England, Japan goalkeeper, for making the saves that he did. Suzuki, I believe his name is. Um, yeah, Zion Suzuki, who plays for Parma
there you go.
in Serie A. He was born in the States in New Jersey, but he represents Japan in his national team. So another dual national.
Cool.
So, oh yeah, He moved to Japan later in his childhood. That explains
Gotcha.
it. All right, so that'll conclude this week's episode. Um, tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Sorry for the technical stuff, difficulties. Um, we'll be back next week talking all things football and all that. Uh, talking about Whitecaps and any other news that comes up. Whitecaps Portland this weekend. Tune in. If you're heading to the game, enjoy it. Hopefully the Whitecaps put up another win. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, Nathan Dendurit. Podcast at Terminal City FC. Check out our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Blue Sky, and all that. And all our articles for Area 51 Sports Network. That concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.